Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Pryweller, Conference Director for Tire Business. Welcome to Tire Business Ask the Expert. This live stream series is your chance to engage with professionals on the current business environment and to interact with questions. Today's Ask the Expert is hosted by St. Louis Wholesale Tire. With us today is Joe Inchiostro, CEO of St. Louis Wholesale Tire. Joe will look at the current state of the specialty tire segment of the market, the current supply challenges brought on by the pandemic, and the outlook moving into 2021. Joe and several of his colleagues will answer your questions after the presentation. To submit a question, email tbevents@crane.com, or if you're watching along on Tire Business LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube sites, submit your questions through those platforms. With that, we'll kick things off with Joe Inchiostro of St. Louis Wholesale Tire. Joe, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Joe. And good day, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our look at and open discussion on specialty tire sales in the United States in the context of this crazy pandemic year, past, present, and looking into the future. As Joe mentioned, my name is Joe Inchiostro, and I am the owner and CEO of St. Louis Wholesale Tire. We are a second-generation, family-owned and operated specialty tire distributor located in the central of the United States at the gateway to the west and home of the arch, St. Louis, Missouri. Our business model is very niche and different from the majority of the industry in that we do not carry any passenger or commercial truck tires. Our business is completely geared on specialty tires in the form of ATV, UTV, lawn and garden, trailer, agricultural, industrial tires, as well as inner tubes and flaps. Some of our exclusive brands include Airlock, StarMax, and ATF. We import tires from many countries from around the world and distribute from coast to coast in the United States. Now, before we get into anything, I would like to say to everyone out there, happy Election Day, and take a moment to give a shout out to the founding fathers who, in their infinite wisdom, enabled us with the awesome power to vote. So God bless America, and regardless of your political affiliation, get out there and vote. I am also going to take a moment to have a selfish little plug here, but I would like to say happy birthday to my mom, who would kill me if I said her age online. So suffice it to say, I would not be where I am today without her. So thanks, Mom. Back to business. As I mentioned, at St. Louis Wholesale Tire, we purchase specialty tires from all around the world and distribute them from coast to coast in the United States. As a result of this, we have the unique opportunity to speak with many different people from all over the country on the manufacturing side as well as the distribution side of the industry. With this in mind, our goal today is to share with you what we know and see as trends in the specialty tire segments of the industry, as well as provide a forum for dealers and distributors to ask questions, express concerns, and share what experiences and insights that they might have, so that we, the independent tire dealers, by sticking together, can strive, thrive, and stay ahead of the curve, coming out of this pandemic and moving into 2021 stronger than ever. To aid me in this task, I have brought along with me a couple of experts who have boots on the ground every day, talking to tire dealers and distributors from all over the country. They are Tim Woodward, 22-year veteran and senior account manager with St. Louis Wholesale Tire, who also has a black belt in ATV, UTV tire sales, and Jared Rogers, our VP of New Business Development and Ag Specialist. They will be jumping in a little later for the Q&A section of our dialogue, and we're looking forward and appreciate their contribution today. Now, before we get into our projections and advice for dealers and distributors on where we see the specialty tire market going and some strategic decisions they may be able to make sooner than later to maximize their potential moving into the coming year, we felt it would be prudent to do a quick recap on the story so far this year, kind of some of the factors that brought us to where we are so that we can better understand where we're going. And we're pleased to give emphasis to the specialty tire market because so often we hear so much about the passenger and commercial truck aspects of it. But these two segments really are often some of the most resilient and profitable segments of our businesses, which allow us to sustain during more difficult times. So, unlike the passenger and commercial truck segments of the tire industry that took a huge hit in the first half of this year, the specialty tire segments had their own challenges. And it was quite the opposite of what conventional logic at face value might have predicted. Demand has been extremely high and indeed borderline record setting all over the country, with many dealers reporting record sales. Now, while this may not seem like a problem, we will see in a moment that timing truly is everything. But what are some of the major factors that contributed to this trend despite the pandemic? Well, as we think it through and look at it, essential workers kept working. Farmers, the energy sectors, construction to a lesser extent, all remained functioning during the pandemic. And so demand stayed consistent there. On the other hand, people were staying at home and had a lot of newfound free time on their hands, which translated into tackling those projects that they had been meaning to get to forever. I know personally, I have a buddy who owns 4 acres up in Lansing, Michigan. And having talked with him earlier this year, he said, "Man, I'm so far down my to do list. I didn't think I'd be getting here for another 10 years or so." So the home, yard, and weekend farmer projects have been at an all time high. And also, and I think most importantly, as a society, we've shifted our recreational focus to a more outdoor and social distanced activities such as boating, trail riding, RV trips, and to all my Midwesterners and brothers out there, deer hunting and all the different hunting and outdoor aspects that go along with that. Add the government stimulus earlier this year, and you've got the recipe for massive increases in demand for specialty products in 2020. Now, as I mentioned, timing is everything. Excuse me. So, at the same time that we had record high demand for specialty tires, we also experienced unprecedented supply chain disruptions earlier this year as the virus exploded in China and around the world, resulting in factories and ports shutting down and being delayed. We then cautiously and optimistically projected things would get back on track around July, only to have a second spike come through and cause many factories to shut down again and for shipments to be further delayed. Add a little later in the year, wildfires in California causing major delays at the Long Beach port, and then the natural spikes in demand for ocean freight associated with a traditional peak season shipping in anticipation for the holidays. And you have two very conversely related curves there in a dynamic situation to manage. Very high demand with very unpredictable and delayed shipping. So, long story short, year to date, the biggest challenges from an inventory and sales standpoint for the specialty tire segments has been product availability and subsequently effectively supplying and communicating shortage with your customer base. And we've seen it in every industry. There's shortages, you name it. The shelves are not fully stocked. Hell, my bow guy can't even get arrows right now. It's just every industry is experiencing that, and so the consumer has been slightly desensitized, and they understand that they are taking what's available and when they can get it. So, with that being said, now moving forward into the fourth quarter of 2020 and in preparation for spring of 2021, what do we see? What can we expect? What moves can we make to proactively anticipate what's coming down the track? I should preface this with my crystal ball is only 100% right some of the time. So take it with a grain of salt. These truly are, to be the buzz phrase of 2020, unprecedented times. But we have an overwhelming feeling of optimism moving into the future. So we see market demand remaining strong through 2021 in the specialty tire segments. regardless of who takes office and despite of the pandemic, especially in the segments that are going to remain essential, as well as those that facilitate the social distancing and outdoor activities, like I mentioned with ATV, UTV tires, the trailer tires as people continue to go camping and boating and engage in social distancing and the outdoor activities. Lawn and garden tires associated with the lawn, yard, and weekend warrior projects. With regard to the farm tire market, Mother Nature is always an unpredictable factor, and weather will always impact the industry. But there's no reason not to plan for stable growth in the coming year. And while construction took a minor hit so far this year, we feel that infrastructure never goes out of style for long. So, we can predict that, potentially by mid-year next year, construction would be bouncing back. So overall optimism is very good. That being said, there are some major concerns in the industry across the board. The number one factor with that will undoubtedly be the negative impact of product availability still, especially as it relates to ocean freight line space and available containers. Shipping right now is extremely challenging. Container lines are maxing out capacity to meet U.S. import surges. Ocean freight is at peak rates and will probably hold those rates beyond the traditional season as a function of supply and demand. I was on the phone with one of our factories in India this morning, and he mentioned that the government might actually be stepping in that country to prevent price gouging. So, basic laws of supply and demand. When there's heavy demand and short supply, there's opportunity for some price gouging there. So, we can expect it to be a very volatile moving into the future here, at least for the next 6 months. Situations where factories may have product available to ship, but no containers to load the product into, which is truly an unprecedented situation. So the bottom line is that freight is going to be expensive, and expect delays through at least the mid-year 2021. Another major variable in product availability moving into the coming year is the uncertainty of the virus moving into the winter months and the unpredictability of what effect it may have on production. While many factories around the world seem to be back at 100% production capacity, at any given time, they could be shut down for a couple weeks due to COVID cases, or governments may impose new restrictions if cases spike, which would keep factories from maintaining their 100% capacity and catching up on backlog demand. Europe is struggling right now with a spike in cases, and some of the surrounding countries are as well. So there's just a lot of uncertainty going into the winter months. And when you add the peak shipping season, then the Chinese New Year in early February, dealers and distributors really need to pay close attention to their supply chains and shipment updates, and as well as inventory levels. So the good, the bad, and the ugly there. But with all things, there is always opportunity. You just have to be aware of it and keep your eyes open and be ready to act. So with all this in mind, we've got some fundamental pieces of advice that we think are prudent and would be wise and would definitely help the independent tire dealer as well as major distributor for planning as of now and then moving into spring of 2021. Number one, markets are resilient. Demand will be strong regardless of politics and pandemics. Airplanes are full. People want to get back to life and work. So invest in your business and have faith in the greatest economy in the world. One of the greatest investments in your business, in my personal opinion, is investing in your people. So we'll get to that in a minute here. Product availability is still going to be a major factor through the first half of 2021. So consider going against the industry trends over the past 10 to 15 years of stocking the least amount of product possible, and consider stocking your shelves a little bit more to get while the getting is good, because it's cliche, but it's true. You have to have it to sell it. In addition to that, good communication is always critical to any relationship and any successful endeavor. So proactively communicate with your sales team to work together and strategically distribute and allocate inventory to maximize coverage and take care of your customers. Also, proactively communicate with your sales force and with the importance of planning ahead and communicating. Proactively communicate with your customers so that they can then relay that message and explain the dynamics of the market right now. And finally, and equally as important, have the flexibility and willingness to buy outside of your normal circles. So we've got to have something, we have to have coverage, you have to have that flexibility and that willingness to think outside the box and perhaps lose the battle to win the war, as we like to say, and just make sure you've got some sort of coverage. So, with that being said, we're extremely optimistic about the future, and we look very much forward to continuing to help with all our partners out there to grow and be successful. And I am going to turn it back over to Joe, who's going to bring in our specialists and open the floor up for some questions.
Thanks a lot, Joe, and it's good to hear some optimism, especially this day and age. So that's terrific. At this point, as Joe said, we're going to bring in two colleagues of Joe. I want to introduce Tim Woodward, Senior Account Manager, and Jared Rogers, Vice President of Business Development with St. Louis Wholesale Tire. Jared and Tim will join Joe to answer your questions. To submit a question, email tbevents@crane.com. Or if you are watching along on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, submit your questions through those platforms. Here's the first question, and I'll toss this one out to Jared. When do you expect product availability to return to pre-pandemic levels and for things to get back to normal?
Joe, thanks for that question. That is the golden question here. The primary concern for us all. Joe did touch on it lightly, but that is the answer we're looking for. Unfortunately, there's so many variables with the manufacturer delays, the freight and logistics, and the uncertainty of how this virus is going to end up doing to us, the rest of the year and going into next year. My personal opinion that, it's this first half of 2021 is still going to be a slight roller coaster, and I'm going to be experiencing the kind of the same stuff we've done this year. But with that being said, I think it's all depends on how people prepare for it and have prepared for it to moving forward and have taken those actions to kind of set yourself apart.
Let me follow up with that a second. Do you think once the pandemic is over or near the tail end that there'll be a new normal in the industry? Will things have changed from what we saw before the pandemic?
Yeah, I don't know what normal is anymore. It's been so long.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
I think eventually things will get, so-called back to normal, I guess. But I still think there's going to be a lot of differences in our industry and changes that we're all going to have to adapt to. And I think that we've already done a lot of that. And I think we're going to adapt to what we've done to change. But yeah, eventually we'll get back to what we were.
Great.
Yeah. Joe, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and perhaps making bold predictions is bad, but I think the next 6 months are going to be very volatile. The back half of 2021 is going to level out a bit, but I'm predicting that 100% by the end of 2021, life will be back to normal, and there will be new challenges in front of us because that never ceases. There's always the next challenge. But I have faith in the world and the market in America, and I believe that by the end of 2021, I expect that life will be back to normal.
Yeah, good. From your mouth, I think let's hope that's true. Anyway, love to see that prediction come true. I'll ask Tim this question. Tim, how do you recommend communicating with your customers about product delays and shortages so as to keep from reflecting poorly on someone's business and you maintain and maximize the retention of customers?
Well, I think first of all, just always being upfront and honest with your customers. I let customers know whenever I talk to them and they call in, first thing I say to them is, hey, let me take a look at that, and I kind of know right off the bat if that's something we've seen, something we've got coming in. But just letting your customers know as you're speaking to them, hey, it's 2020 right now, and let me see if I've got those. There's a good chance if I don't, they're coming in. Or as Joe had mentioned, I've got some other partners I work with that I can pull them in from. And then also, I think letting them know that if we do have what they're after, that, you know, they're doing good, just to, they've found tires. And then with that, you know, for them to relay to that to their customers, hey, good news, my suppliers got them. You know, it's 2020 right now. The best thing we can do is we have found you tires. If you wait, I tell people they're here today, gone tomorrow. And so just to keep that in mind, and then to also let them know that if they wait until, hey, I know you're just pricing right now, but you know, you got to go ahead and jump whenever these things are available. If you go ahead and wait till you have a flat or until that equipment's just down, there's a good chance it's going to sit, it's going to wait, and you know, you're going to be down. And so just kind of letting them know that the tire industry is just like every other industry. Right now, there are issues with supply. And, you know, we're going to get through this. We're going to work with you guys and get you what we can in, you know, a timely fashion. But just, it's not unheard of for someone to be out of something, or that, you know, your customer is going to have to wait to get those tires in. So is the biggest thing, I think. Just upfront and honest. Always, all problems in life are settled when you hit them straight on.
I imagine, Tim, just to follow up on that, that you can be a star as a dealer if you're constantly in touch with your customers too, and letting them know when something is in, and then the availability of certain products too, and reaching out to them. Does that help a little bit?
I'm sorry, Joe, could you repeat the question?
Oh, sure. Does it help if you keep up with your customers? If something's not available today but it's coming tomorrow, let them know when it's in.
100%. Communication is the key, and that's something we even let them know as far as, you know, this container's got an ETA of this. But anytime you hear any news, keeping the customer updated is definitely important to let them know as far as delays, or even if someone's going to arrive a little early. But no, communication is always the biggest key to keeping customers happy. And, you know, just calling up front, it's one of those things when you let them know the situation in the market. We've had situations where people call looking for tires, and a week later they call back and their customers finally pulled the trigger, and unfortunately they're not available. So that's when you have to let them know that, you know, unfortunately, as I mentioned, they were here, and then letting them know the ETAs on the next containers. But yeah, always communication of what's here, what's coming in, and you know, just how things are looking right now.
Yeah, definitely important. Jared, I'll pass this one your way. What do you see happening with pricing over the next 6 months or so to a year, 6 months to a year? I know it's been kind of a volatile market, as Joe mentioned in his presentation anyway. What do you see happening with pricing?
Man, valid concern. I mean, that's probably the second biggest thing that I get a lot of questions on a day-to-day as new sales every day. I mean, my customers are constantly asking me if, you know, is my price still the same, or what's going on? I mean, at this point, I myself haven't really heard anything from our group or the manufacturers of if anything is going to go up, go down, or anything like that. But I'd be really surprised if it don't go up. I mean, it seems almost inevitable at this point, the way things are going. But you know, that's just you know, just in the hands of the manufacturer at this point, on them. I mean, just another reason to order your product as soon as possible if you haven't already.
Yeah. Do you think it'll maintain at a higher price for 6 months to a year? Will it stay that way?
Oh, you know, I would imagine we'll get an increase within the next 6 months. But I mean, that's just guessing off the way things are going.
Sure.
So I would imagine Joe could probably throw something back a little stronger with him being involved in the manufacturing side of it and the purchasing side of it.
Yeah, there's significant pressures pushing for increases. You know, obviously, as I mentioned, freight and logistics are very high. Raw material prices are on the rise. Again, a basic function of supply and demand. When demand is high and supply is low, there's opportunity for price increases. But on the opposite side of the coin, when things are volatile and very unstable, people are looking for stability and consistency. It's pretty hard to raise prices when you can't supply product. So there's a balancing act going on here where I think there's going to be pressure from the factories because of raw material and logistics costs to raise pricing. At St. Louis Wholesale, we're going to use our buying power and our volume to fight that as much as possible and keep your prices as low as possible for as long as possible. It's our one thing we can promise.
Super. Tim, maybe I'll ask you this question. How can a tire dealer or distributor maximize fill rates when so many factors are contributing to delays and shortages and are out of the control of the dealer or distributor, as you mentioned? How can fill rates be maximized?
Joe, that's a great question. I would say the biggest thing right now is in our industry looking forward to the future, planning for the future. Spring dating programs are more important than ever. Placing your spring order now and knowing there's a good chance it's going to get delayed. So, you hope for spring, but, and maybe you get lucky, but worst case, if you get your orders in now, it's late spring, it's early summer. And just typically where, everybody's wanted to wait in the past to order. I think the thing now is just ordering now and knowing, as Joe said, the future is going to be bright. We're going to have to hedge our bets a little bit and just get those orders in now. Get in line. That's the biggest thing I tell people too. One thing we've dealt with and we've had to convey to our customers and even change some of their past mind thought was that we have a lot of customers that didn't like placing back orders. It was one of those things they placed their weekly order or their bi-weekly orders. And it was always, if I don't have that in stock, well, you know what? I'll catch it on the next order. I don't like back orders. It's too hard to keep track of. And I don't want to, be wondering about what's sitting out there. And just let them know you've got to get in line. It's one of those things, the early bird gets the worm, as they say. And if you don't get in line for product, there's a good chance that you're going to miss out just because of, the old way of doing business isn't really going to work right now. And as we're working through getting product and getting, everybody taken care of, everybody's got to get in line, and we do a great job of taking care of all of our program customers as well as, the normal customers that just call in day in and day out. But the big thing is, buy early and often. That was something that Joe's dad had told me whenever I started back in the business as far as purchasing goes. If you see something and you can buy it and sell it and you're going to be able to help a customer out and you're going to make a buck for you, then you got to jump on it. So the buy early and often, I think, is the big thing. Placing spring dating orders is, like I said, never been more important. That allows the factories to know what the biggest demand is going to be for and what they need to get made. So, but yeah, order early and often and plan on your spring order being in early summer, I guess.
Good advice. One thing, I know that Tire Business named St. Louis Wholesale as one of the best places to work last year. Congratulations is in order, first of all. And secondly, Joe, a question for you. What are you doing to keep morale high during this period of uncertainty and the environment that we're in anyway? Maybe how can other business maybe learn from that and take some cues from what you're doing at St. Louis Wholesale Tire?
Absolutely. And it's been challenging. These guys can both speak to it. And while I'm a CEO, manager, finance, I also do a lot of sales. So I feel their pain. It can be frustrating. And when people get frustrated, the easiest thing to do is to start pointing fingers at other people, right? It's his fault. It's that fault. What's going on? And the best way that we deal with that at St. Louis Wholesale is regular communication and meetings and updates. It's amazing, but good, bad, or ugly, shoot me straight and tell me how it is, and then I can make a decision and move forward from there. But when I have uncertainty, then I have doubt, and I'm not sure which way to go. So we try to provide everyone with as much information as possible, have regular meetings, let them express their concerns, open door management style to ask for their input. Like I tell these guys all the time, if you see something that could be wrong, I want to know about it immediately. It's not complaining. It's not annoying. Like, we want every ounce of feedback so that we can react as quickly as possible. And when you communicate in that way, then your team has faith in your organization and in your culture and in your environment. And they know that while things may be tough, no one's going to be doing a better job to get back on track than we are. And I have faith in us and in the future. And so then internally, that allows them to believe in our vision and in our mission and in the job that we're doing. And then they can express that better to the customers. So that basic thing of communication and that open door policy is really how we've maintained a good morale. And when everybody's winning, everybody's happy. And despite the fact that we've had a lot of shortages, a lot of that has been due to the fact that we've been selling record numbers of tires, right? If everything was flat, we'd be doing fine. So it's an awfully good problem to have. You got to remind people that the glass is half full. So.
Super. It's probably better if they're busy anyway. Morale is higher when they're busy and when the company's being productive anyway, I imagine.
Yeah. And to add to that, Joe, on the customer side, when they know that you genuinely care about them and their business, even if it's not directly benefiting you. So if we're in a situation like Tim outlined where we had the tires, the customer quoted it out, but then now we are out of stock for whatever unfortunate reason, if it's going to be a long period of time, we will tell the customer, I'm going to be out for, call it a month. I can find you this product at this price, or if you need to go somewhere else, I want you to make sure that you're taking care of your customer. I want to be your guy and I'm going to be here for you. But the most important thing to me is that you always take care of your customers first, and we support you no matter what, even if it's just providing you with information, not necessarily getting a sale.
Great.
So.
Super. Well, we're about out of time. I thought maybe I'd ask you, Joe, unless you want to pass this off to Jared or Tim, if you have any final parting comments you want to leave the audience with about the specialty tire industry outlook, anything else that you want to leave people with today?
Yeah, specialty tires, it's a very exciting time. I mean, it's a growth industry. There are a lot of new products coming out. This next year, we've got a new 10-ply radial DOT-rated airlock Paladin tire. I mean, these bikes are getting bigger. There's more and more units out there, and there's a lot of applications that they're being used for. With the lawn and garden tires, that there's just more sizes and more applications out there. Our airlock lawn and garden line and radial trailer line continues to expand with new and new sizes. So stay focused, love what you're doing. Keep your eyes open, act fast, pay attention, communicate well, and you should be in great shape for a very positive 2021.
Great. Well, good to hear some positive news and a nice outlook for next year. Hopefully your crystal ball has some juice to it and it is in good shape with that. That's super. I want to thank again Joe Inchiostro. I'm going to get that name right eventually here. Jared Rogers and Tim Woodward of St. Louis Wholesale Tire for sharing their outlook on the specialty tire market. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out directly to them at Joe's email address, which is listed on the screen below. And thank you for watching this Tire Business Ask the Expert live stream session, part of our continuing series this week. We'll wrap up the series tomorrow, Wednesday, November 4th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll hear from Tech Tire Repairs on trends in tires and how to repair them. Send in your questions now to tbevents@crane.com or send them in during the live stream. Finally, don't forget that all these sessions will be available for registered viewers to watch anytime on the Tire Business website. That's at tirebusiness.com. I'm Joe Pryweller with Tire Business. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next Ask the Expert session. Thank you.